yourself?
Sure. I'm Damien Gibbons. This is Eleanor, age 5. This is Elias, age 2.
And I'm Melanie Gibbons. And we joined Salem in 2006.
I think we officially became members in June of 2006. It was the summer.
Yeah, we came at the beginning of Lent, and I grew up in a Lutheran tradition, so I was excited actually about the Wednesday night suppers. And so we came to those pretty much from the beginning. And that was a really nice way for us to get to know some people. Because it's a little different when you can just sit at a meal and eat instead of, in a service where there's not quite as much. So that was a really nice introduction for us, and maybe sped along the process of joining.
Yeah, I think the thing that I remember the most about first coming to Salem was how welcoming everybody was. We had been going to a different Lutheran church for a while, and it was a bigger church than Melanie and I grew up in our different denominations, but it's just bigger than either one of us were used to.
So we heard about Salem because I was working for Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service, and at the time we had a daily time of devotion for LWR and LIRS, Lutheran World Relief, and LIRS as staff, and I guess Lutheran Services in America at the time in the Delaware, Maryland Synod office. And so Brenda Camaro, who's a member here, read the letter of Vicar Dave Azendorf from the Monarch as one of the devotions one day. And I remember just really thinking, boy, that sounds like that pastor's kind of speaking our language. And so when I got back to my desk, I looked up the church and I saw they had a theater company. And I sent it to Damien and said, look, this is a church that has a theater community. And Damien was really interested in theater. And so that's what got us interested, and we came out. Yep.
And I remember halfway through the service, Pastor Ed came down to introduce himself to us because he wanted to make sure we didn't just escape after the service without saying hello. And after the service, a lot of folks said hello to us. Scott and Irene Amorose, and the Medicus family, Penny and Ray, Giuliani, just a lot of folks, and we just thought, wow, it's just so wildly different than what we were experiencing at our church at the time, having all these people saying hello to us. So it was very welcoming, and we decided to stay. And we've been here for 14 years now.
Yeah. Eleanor, what do you like most about Salem?
The nursery.
What else?
And the pastors.
The pastors, yep. What about Sunday school?
I like the snacks and the tables and all the games and toys.
Elias, what do you like about Salem? Can you look at Mr. Guy and tell him what you like about Salem?
Sunday school.
Sunday school. Mm-hmm. What do you like about watching church on the computer? Who do you like to see? Eleanor, what do you like about watching the church on the computer?
I like how the microphone shaped, because how the microphone sounds, because it sounds interesting to me.
Sounds interesting. Okay. One of the things that I remember liking about Salem when we first joined was that it wasn't just welcoming to us as young adults. It was welcoming to people of all ages and families, and kids seemed not to just be tolerated, but to be welcomed and appreciated for their presence, even in the service, even if they were not perfectly quiet, or that there was joy in observing those kids and making them feel like they're part of this community. And that's really important to me, even before we had kids. And I remember my grandfather inviting me to his adult Sunday school class, because he said when I invited me, he said, and I want you to talk, because we have as much to learn from you as you have to learn from us. And so that's stuck with me, and I appreciate that about Salem, that children and young people are part of this community, not just in their presence and who they will become, but who they are now. And I love that. I love being part of nurturing that too.
Yeah, I think it was nice to join a church that wasn't silvering, as they say, where like everybody in the congregation was older and kind of stuck in their ways, and inflexible about how worship would be, or I loved that Pastor Ed really was clear that Salem was open to everybody. So when we went there were people of all ages. There was a very healthy and active youth group that we were a part of leading, and then we met some really good friends close to our age, Matt and Liz Richardson, who are Eleanor's godparents, and just got to know a lot of people in a very short period of time, and it really made us feel like, I remember going back to the car, when we sat back down in our car after our first visit here, and we just looked at each other, and I think it was Melanie said, "We're home." Like, this is where we were meant to be, and never had a reason to want to leave it since. It's wonderful.
We lived downtown at the time, and actually when we were ready to move, we specifically chose Catonsville because we were already so engaged in this community. I think we stopped driving as much when we moved out here between church and theater. And
Vicky Whetstone looked for an apartment near the church for us. So in Catonsville,
with
period.
The Catonsville Times. That's right. Yeah. So we moved to Baltimore because we both grew up in Maryland, but we were in Chicago before we came here, and we moved here because I started working for Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service. And then, so at the time that we came to Salem, I was aware already that Salem was one of the local churches that was very involved with refugee resettlement and helping families who are coming here for the first time to find a community and have the things that they needed. And so that told me something already about the nature of the community of Salem in terms of their welcome beyond even our own community, and then that's reflected as well in the support that Salem has for Lutheran World Relief and the quilting ministry that's here, which is so vibrant and wonderful. And the quilters here, and Mary Miller as the leader, have been so gracious and accommodating in letting us turn them into poster children in many situations for LWR's quilting ministry and try some new things. And it is one of my favorite Sundays of the whole year when we have the quilts spread across the sanctuary for Quilt Blessing Sunday. And it's a reminder, and others have said this too, when you walk in the front door at Salem and you see all the boxes for collecting things and the bins and the tables and the spaces for things that are intended for people outside of our walls, I think that says something really important about the nature of the community that we have here. And the call that we have from God is to go and be in the world, and this church is out and in the world, and I think that's one of the reasons it's thriving. Kind of to Damien's point, that we aren't just stuck inside and trying to kind of focus down on what we are here, but what can we do in the world and how can we answer that call? And we do that in a lot of ways, but that includes Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Service and Lutheran World Relief and so many others, ways that we can just be part of that kingdom that's bursting into the world.
So. Yeah, we really couldn't have picked a better congregation for the quilting thing. It would have been kind of sad if the national manager for all the quilts that went to a church that had like 2 or 3 quilts a year, maybe done by one person. But you come here and the pews are just filled with quilts every year. It's
twice even now.
Twice now. So just a perfect, as you say, poster child, if you will, for the ministry. So.
Yeah, and now they're making masks. That demonstrates another way that we're ready to just do what's needed as a church, as a community, right? That yes, we might have done something for a long time, and we probably will still again. But right now, people need masks, and that's what's being made. And I think that's reflective too of the broader community and that's a really important thing. And I think even as we start to have hard conversations around anti-racism and a lot of isms that we see present in our society and in our world, those aren't easy conversations to have, but they're important, and we're called to that. And I'm really grateful that the community of Salem is willing to wade into those waters, even though it might not always be perfectly smooth, and we recognize that people are coming at those things from a lot of different life experiences and perspectives. But I think that's a really holy and precious way that the Spirit calls us into community. And so willingness to see maybe we could do something a different way.
Well, Salem Players, like everything else, is on hiatus right now, unfortunately. But it was a wonderful way of getting plugged into the church back in 2006. I've stayed fairly active with it. I'm on the board right now, and enjoying that very much. It would be wonderful when we could start doing shows again. Right now we're talking about possibly doing, and I don't want to say the name of any plays because we haven't gotten rights to anything, but there are one or two plays that we are talking about doing an online reading of, just maybe just for fun. Maybe we can find a way to work in some fundraising into that or something like that. But so we've got a couple of ideas stewing, and then hopefully maybe next year we'll get back to doing actual shows again, which will be a lot of fun. So there are a couple shows out right now that I have on my plate that I would love to direct somewhere or be a part of. So
It is a neat way to expand the community and build community too. Within the congregation and beyond. Kind of like meals, only a lot more intense, where you just have time together to get to know people in a little bit of a different way, and that expression of creativity is kind of a way of welcoming.
And we take all different skill levels and experience levels. Melanie was cast in the lead of My Fair Lady the very first time she ever set foot on a stage as an actor, and obviously I think she knocked it out of the park. She was a wonderful Eliza, and I got to be her Freddie, which was a lot of fun. But it doesn't matter, if it's something you want to do as a stage manager, or if you want to be in the background, or if you want to go for a lead. Anybody can come out for anything.
Help with sets.
Yeah, we always need tech help. It's nice too because this is the kind of community too where you'll see people who have played leads before and sung these big parts, like Tim Van Zandt, for example, who's been Harold Hill and Baron Von Trapp, running tech the next play, doing something completely behind the scenes, no publicity or anything like that, but just everybody willing to do everything and whatever it takes to help make the show go. And I love that about Salem Players. It's one of the things that makes it a truly community experience.
Okay, Ellie, what are some of the things that you have learned from the children's sermon or Sunday school from being at Salem?
That we should be kind to others even if they're not being kind to us.
That's good.
Because that will make them understand that it's not good to be mean. It's good to be nice, not good to be mean.
What have you learned about Jesus and God?
That they protect the whole world and all the animals in the forests and rainforests and everywhere that they are. This is Jesus.
This is, yeah, do you see it? Jesus? Have you learned anything about Jesus? Have you learned some songs about Jesus? Do you want to sing one?
Fine.
Do you want to sing Jesus Loves Me? No? Okay, that's fine. You want to sing it? Okay, let's sing it. You learned that one here, right?
Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so.
Great job.